guys, welcome back to my channel. January is finally over. That took long enough. I'm kidding. I actually wanted to start off by saying, can you believe January is already over? But I have done so many favorites videos where I've either said that or been tempted to say that I thought would be a little sarcastic today. But I am kind of glad that January is over. I am ready for spring, which I know February is not spring, but it's 1 month closer to spring than we were last month. So I'm going to call it a win. And another win, I've got some favorites to share with you guys today. I actually have a pretty small collection this month. A lot of eyeshadow palettes, like a lot of eyeshadow palettes. 75% of what I'm talking about, I think, today is eyeshadow palettes with a couple other things sprinkled in there. This one will probably go pretty fast as long as I don't talk too much. So let's go ahead and get into it. But before we do, a special welcome to any of you that are new visitors to my channel. Very happy to have you here. Hope you'll consider subscribing before you leave. If you enjoy the video, give it a thumbs up, and that goes for all of you, by the way. And also take a look and make sure that that notification bell is turned on if you'd like to be notified every time I upload a new video. And with that said, let's get right into the things I've loved during the month of January. Alright, so let's just go ahead and start with the eyeshadow palette, starting with this one right here. This is the Natasha Denona Mini Biba palette. You guys, this is such a good little palette. I tried it out and did a look with this towards the beginning of the month. I will link that video for you guys right here in case you missed that one. You want to see this in action. I'm not wearing this one today. I went a little more pink with another palette that we'll get into in a minute, but this is such a beautiful palette. This reminds me of the Mini Nude, which I think might be my favorite. I mean, this one's definitely in the running, but this one has more kind of peachy pink tones, but it's not overly pink. It's not overly bold, but I also wouldn't call it a berry toned palette. I'm going to go ahead and just swatch it for you guys. Here's these first four shades. There they are right there. You can see they're just very like dusty, kind of like dusty peachy rose shades. I don't know. They're not quite rosy. They're not quite brown, but they're also not too pink. They're almost kind of like terracotta peachy rose. I just get worse and worse as I try to explain things. There they are right there. Hopefully you guys can see them. They're stunning. I especially love this lid shade right here. Is like my perfect lid shade. I imagine this would look good on anyone. It's not overly icy and bright, but it's plenty brightening if you like something nice and bright on your inner corner, your inner lid. I love the other shades included in here. I love that they include a cream to powder formula, which you guys know I love that formula from Natasha Denona. Just all around a really good, simple palette that's going to give you a killer eye look really quickly without having to think too much. And I would imagine this would look good on a lot of different skin tones. A big fan of this one. You guys know how much I love these mini palettes, but this definitely is up there in my top 2 or 3. Moving on to a couple of Nabla palettes. I know I just posted a video where I tested out a couple of the Nabla Cutie palettes. I've had these for a week and 2 days now, I think, and I'm such a big fan of these. I raved about them in that last video. I'm specifically talking about these two today because I've thoroughly used both of these. Still working on the Midnight palette. There's a couple shades in there that I haven't quite used yet, but these two really, really have my heart. I love them so much. If you like really simple and neutral looks that aren't overly bold, aren't overly intense, or kind of soft and romantic maybe, this is such a good one. It's very, very simple. I love these two shades that you get if you want to kind of slightly kind of smoke things out in your outer corner but keep it really soft. Those are beautiful. I love this pink on the lid. It is so stunning. It's a really pretty, almost purpley mauve that is so stunning on the lid. And again, I think it's a shade that would look good on absolutely anyone. It's not overly bright or icy in any way. So if you don't like something really, really kind of metallic and bright and intense on your lid, this is going to be a perfect shade. I think it would go with anything. And then if you want to pop something brighter on the inner corner, you can go with this gold right here, or you can go with the highlighter. This is quite gold, like it's a really warm yellow gold. I've used this and enjoyed it. I've also used more of a pink toned highlighter on my inner lid and enjoyed that look as well, like something along the lines of what's in here. Beautiful little simple palette. Also gives you a black, which is great. Gives you a kind of more kind of mid-tone gold that is not too brassy. Beautiful, beautiful formulas. I think I like these not just for the colors that are inside, but the formulas are just so spot on. They're really good quality, really fantastic, a lot of different finishes. And the finishes do vary from palette to palette. This one gives you a couple. Actually, I think it had like these three right here all have that kind of creamy, powdery finish that reminds me of the Natasha Denona cream to powder formula. Then other palettes don't have that formula, have just very traditional mattes. This one actually doesn't have any traditional powder standard mattes in it, but I still love it. I think it's a really fun one to work with, and I love the looks that come out of this one. This one right here also I am in love with. It is the Wild Berry palette. I used this Alchemy 2 shade in a recent video. It is such a beautiful, unique color. I do want to show you guys how this shade compares with this shade inside the Mauves palette. So here are those two palettes side by side. They're very similar. I would say if you own this palette, you probably don't need this one. They're not exactly the same, and the formulas in this one are a little different. This matte shade right here is the kind of cream to powder type matte that's a little bit, it's not quite as dusty. It's actually not quite as rich and pigmented, but it's a little bit creamy, and it just blends blends a little differently, looks and feels a little bit more hydrating on the lid, but I love this formula. It's just a little bit different. If you've worked with the Natasha Denona formula, you'll be familiar with this type of a formula. It's a great transition shade. Actually, let me use my other hand. So there it is right there. I love that in the crease. It's so, so pretty. I do want to show you guys a comparison swatch of this shade, which is Alchemy 2. Here it is right here. Really pretty duochrome. It's kind of a pink with a little bit of like a blue-green shift in it. And then this is the Mauves palette by Jules Place. This one I think is a little bit darker, maybe a little bit more blue in tone, but they're very, very similar. There they are, yeah. Super similar. Actually, I think this one might be a little bit more blue. This might be a little bit more kind of green and gold. I know these are so hard to pick up. Let me turn my lights down just a little bit. There we go. Is that a little bit better? Hopefully you guys can sort of see those. They're pretty similar. So I would again say if you have one of these, but I do really, really love this one. I've enjoyed the looks that come out of it. I think it's absolutely stunning. The packaging is so adorable. This might be my favorite. You guys might think I'm wearing this on my eyes today. I am not. I actually have 2 more palettes to share with you guys, both of which have some berry tones in them. I guess I'm kind of on a berry tone pink kick lately. But this is another great one, especially if you're into different finishes. If you're into your berry tones and you like some duochrome in your life, this is a great one. As for the palette that I'm wearing on my eyes today, this is a newer palette to me, but it has been around forever. My guess is you guys either currently own this one or have owned this one. It's from Jules Place. It is the Masquerade Mini Palette. This is such a good palette, you guys know. I have still not even touched this row right here. I think I haven't used any of, actually, I think I might have used this teal right here. I haven't used any of these shades actually on my eyes or this bright pink right here, but I've used all of these, including these kind of purples. This is the palette that I am wearing on my eyes today. Started off with this shade in the transition area. It's a little bit dark for a transition shade for me, but if I go in with a light hand, I can get it to work. Then I worked a little bit of this into the outer corner, outer half of the lid. Then I added a little bit of this just onto that outer portion of my lid. Then I smoked things out with this dark shade right here and went on the center and inner corner with this kind of champagne shell pink right here. And I love this look. It's beautiful. I actually haven't done this look before. What I especially love this palette for are for the nudes at the bottom. I have created some of the prettiest warm nude eye looks ever with this palette right here. Now, I know these type of shades, you look at these and you think I probably have 40 palettes that have those shades in them. I thought that myself, but there's something special about the warm brown looks that have been coming out of this palette. I've used it a lot during the last month. I absolutely love it. It's kind of been the first time that I've gotten to know this palette because I think I got this, I believe, during one of their fall sales. I grabbed this because it's been one that I've had my eye on for years, and I feel like I need to own them all when it comes to Jules Place. They're just one of those brands. So I grabbed it, haven't used it much until recently, and I'm so glad that I've been getting to know this better because I think it is amazing. And as proof, by the way, just yesterday in the mail, look what came in my Ulta issue and look what's on the front cover. So I am not alone. Clearly, I have very smart taste. I think this is their Valentine's issue, but I was so excited to see that because I had already picked out my favorites and I was like, yes, I am so good at this. I'm kidding. There's tons of us that love Jules Place, and this palette's been around forever. I'm actually kind of late getting on the Masquerade Mini train, so I guess I shouldn't brag. I mean, I was one of the last people to buy this palette. Probably a lot of you have already decluttered it because it's been around for so long. But if you haven't, go ahead and pull this thing back out because it is stunning. It's absolutely lovely. I've been enjoying it so much and reaching for it a ton this last month. One more palette to share with you guys, and it is this one from Samantha March. I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, and I talked about it, I think, for the same thing, which is this blush right here. That's like mainly what I'm talking about today. I do love the berry tones inside here. I have used them really just like once or twice this last month. I really like them. They're a little bit more cool tone. They're not quite as like warm and bright pink, which generally speaking is more my speed. I mean, this bold of a pink in my outer corner, it's not something I do every day, even though I do love it. These are kind of more everyday kind of mauves, but what makes this palette so incredibly special is number one, this blush right here, which I did use and mention recently, and I have mentioned in a favorites video before, and also the highlighter inside here. These two especially are absolutely stunning, particularly this blush. This blush actually, when I put this on my cheeks, there's something notably special about this blush. I have so many blushes that I really love, but occasionally there's a blush that every time I use it, I think, oh wow, that's like a step above the rest. And that's how I feel about this blush right here, along with the ones that we're going to talk about in just a sec. The name of the blush is 6. I don't know if that's a permanent shade or if this is one that was created by Samantha. Either way, it's amazing. Let me give it a quick little swatch for you guys if I can clean my hands off. I know blushes are a little bit harder to swatch, so that's a like pretty hardy swatch. I really dug my finger in there. It just has such a pretty, almost kind of contour type quality to it. It like shapes your face at the same time that it gives you color and a tiny bit of like a soft sheen. It's beautiful. I love how this looks on my cheeks. And this whole palette is pretty good. This would be a great one to travel with because you get everything that you would need. You get this highlighter, which you can also use on your eyes, a good bronzer, some good purples and mauves that aren't overly bold. Very good one. Speaking of amazing blushes, had to talk about this one right here. I think I might have talked about this at the beginning of January, even though it was brand new to me, but I've got to say it again, you guys. These Pat McGrath blushes, this is their trio. This is their Divine Blush and Glow trio. I have the Galactic Sun version. It's been out of stock a lot lately, but if I can find it in stock somewhere, I will definitely link it down below for you guys. It is absolutely perfection. Now, I've mentioned like 6 times, I'm not a big fan of the highlighter. It's just not my favorite, but I still would buy this again, even full price without any sort of discount, because these 2 blushes are like the perfect blushes of all time. If I'm doing something a little bit warmer, I'll go in with this one. But if I'm doing something more cool or more just basic pink, I'll go in with this one right here. That's the one that I'm wearing on my cheeks today. But often I'll just combine these 2 together and it never disappoints me. This is one of the best blushes I've ever tried. As much as I love the Pat McGrath eyeshadows, I still have this slight hint of annoyance that they're so pricey. Now this is pricey as well, but I wouldn't mind buying this one again or even trying one of her single blushes because this so thoroughly impressed me. I think they are fantastic. I know the first time I mentioned this, there were so many of you in my comment section that were like, yes, Mandy, the Pat McGrath blushes are like the greatest of all time. And I might have to agree, they are pretty spectacular. I have been constantly reaching for these for the last like month and a half. I think I got this just before Christmas, like a week or 2 before Christmas, and I have used this almost exclusively since then. And that's a long time. That was like a month and a half ago. In fact, I have a little drawer here in my bin that sits on my desk where my blushes are. This is the only thing inside there right now because I moved everything once I did my declutter, except for this. This went right back into the drawer, and it's the only thing that's been in there for the last week and a half. And I am totally fine with that. In fact, I need to open up my blush drawer again and give some attention to those because these 2 right here have been all that I've needed or wanted to use over the last several weeks. Next up is an eyeliner. So when I bought the Natasha Denona Mini Biba palette, I wanted to get the free shipping. I have said that so many times lately. Clearly I have a problem, although I will say this, with Natasha Denona, like if you don't get $51 worth of stuff, you actually do have to pay a flat fee of like $25. So it does pay to buy something else from her to get the free shipping. Some places it doesn't, and I will spend $20 in order to save $3.95 on shipping, which doesn't make much sense, but this time it did make sense. Anyways, I'm way off track. Let's bring it back to my favorite. So I added this to my cart, the Natasha Denona Work and Set Gel Liner, because I had a couple gel liners that have dried out recently that I needed to replace. So I thought, what the heck? Why don't I go ahead and try a very expensive liner from Natasha Denona? And actually, you guys, I really, really love this. Now, I don't know that I would say this is worth like the $25 or $30 that I paid for it, but I do really love it. It's really, really nice and black. It does not transfer up onto my brow bone, which is the ultimate test of a gel liner. If there's a gel liner that by the end of the day I have a line here on my brow, as I did with my Focalure gel liners, because I do have very strong like a strong hood or bone right there that I can get a lot of transfer there if something's not very budge proof. This has worked wonders for me. It's really nice and black, and when I kind of smudge it out or kind of sharpen up the line, it stays nice and black. Some liners that I do that, if I smudge them at all, they turn very kind of blue and charcoal looking. This one is really nice and inky and black, which I really love. Easy to use, really nice and creamy. I hope it lasts decently long. But to be honest, the rate I've been using this, I have almost abandoned, I mean, not totally abandoned. I will never abandon my Wet n Wild liner, but I have been so surprised at how much I've been reaching for a gel liner lately. It's just a phase I'm going through right now, and I absolutely love that one right there. All right, we are just about done. I think I just have 2 more things or sets of things to talk about. Next up is a mascara. Oh, you guys, I'm kind of embarrassed about my little story with this mascara in the last video. There were probably some of you that were so disgusted by that story I mentioned. In case you missed it, should I say it again? Basically, I decluttered this, I threw it in my garbage can, which, side note, that garbage can does not have food in it. It only has like cotton balls that I use to remove some nail polish at the bottom, maybe some like packages from makeup that I unboxed. Nothing gross or perishable is in there, and it's actually not even that full. So when I say I dug this out of my garbage can after decluttering it to try it, my garbage can was not like I wouldn't have done it in my kitchen garbage can. Let's just say that. But in all seriousness, this mascara I have been really loving. It is so good. I have a feeling they probably have already discontinued this and kind of just selling what they have left. You can find this on the Butter London website. It's the Butter London Power Up Mascara. I also saw that it was on Nordstrom Rack's website, but I was having a hard time with their link, so I'm not sure if you can buy it online there. I'll try and link it for you guys in case you're interested. I just really love this as a mascara. It's a really good separating mascara that gives you tons of volume. It's one that really individually defines each lash, so it looks like you have a bunch more lashes than you normally do. Or some mascaras that are more kind of thickening mascaras will like clump your lashes together, and if you were to like count your individual lashes, it looks like you have 25. This one makes you look like you have 50 lashes. I just really like what it does for my lashes, but it also is not very clumpy, which I really love. It's very long wearing. It is a little hard to remove at night. I have found that I've had to actually use a makeup remover. Otherwise, I have a really hard time getting it off, but it does not smudge or flake on me. I haven't put it quite to the test with like watery eyes, or I mean, I don't know that I'd say it's waterproof. I'll keep an eye on that this spring as I use it, as I'm outside a little bit more in the cold wind and my eyes just start to water like crazy. I'll see how this holds up. I don't know how it's going to hold up to watery eyes, but it holds up really well to everyday use. I love how it looks on my lashes. It is the one that I am wearing on my eyes today, and I think it's the one that I've worn on my eyes every day for the last week and a bit since I pulled it out of that garbage can. Big fan. Definitely glad that I did it, even though I'm a little embarrassed, just a little. Okay, let's move on to some brushes. So I did just talk about these in, I think, my most recent video that went out. I gave these a brief mention, and I was thinking to myself as I was gathering my favorites on my desk and looking at my small pile, I looked over at my rougher brushes and I realized, you know, for how much I deeply love and often use those brushes, I don't shout them out as much as I should. So I am going to again shout out these 3 specific brushes right here. These are my, I would say these are my essentials. If I had to pick just 3 brushes of all the ones that I own, even though there's a lot that I use and love, I could easily get by, create any eye look, and be very happy with these specific brushes right here. I have the number 16, which you guys, I'm sure you know, I use this one all the time. I talk about it a lot. This would probably be my number 1 pick if I could only buy one. It is so soft. It's nice and pointed at the top. You can use this to really blend things out into your crease, but if you want to smoke out your outer corner, even with this one right here, if you just use the very tip, you can do that with just this one. It's not going to be quite as precise, but it will work if you need just one good brush in your collection, or you only have enough for one brush. This is the one that I would go for first. I've had mine for a few years now, and I've washed it repeatedly, and it has held up so well. These are just so incredible. I think full price, the eye brushes, I think most of them are around $24. Occasionally you can find them in their concept store where you can get a bit of a discount on them. I'll link their website down below. You guys can go take a look, but this would be my number 1 pick, followed very closely by the number 14, which is kind of just a pointed small blending brush. I love having a small blending brush. It really gives you precision in your outer corner. If you like to do kind of smoky outer corner looks like this, if you don't, I would say you could probably just get by with this brush. If you just do kind of like a wash of color kind of looks, this would easily be everything that you would need. But if you do like to smoke out your outer corner, do a little bit of detail work, if maybe you're doing like cut creases and you want to do some very defined contouring in your socket, this is such a great brush. I love it. Absolutely love it. It is so soft. I think I mentioned that I had a little mishap where I thought this brush right here was sitting inside there. See how similar they look? They actually work very similarly. This is the Morphe M514. I don't know if they still make this one. This is quite old, but they look identical, at least at the very tip. So I was using this one thinking it was my rougher brush and wondering why it felt so scratchy to me. Oddly enough, there was a day when I first started my channel, I used a lot of Morphe brushes. They worked really well, and they didn't bother me. The scratchiness didn't bother me until I tried out the rougher brushes. Once you try these out, you will have a hard time going back to the like a scratchier brush like this. I wouldn't necessarily call it like really scratchy, but it is significantly more scratchy than these 2 right here. I think I've said a few times that these feel like if you've ever pet a baby bunny and it feels just so luxurious and silky and soft, that's how these brushes feel when you're working with them on your eyes. They are incredible. And my last pick would be this one right here. This is the number 2 brush. It's kind of a small, compact, dense kind of shader brush. I use this mainly to kind of smudge shadow under my lash line and really kind of shape out this outer corner right here. You can get the blending done with this, but if you really want to precisely shape out your outer corner here, I like to take my darkest color that I'm using. This is when my eye look is pretty much done. I'll go in with a tiny bit of my darkest shade, place it just on the very tip, and just place this right in the outer corner, kind of run it along that kind of outer corner area right there to really make sure that shape is nice and precise and finished and there's no patchiness anywhere. It does wonders. I think that's one of the best finishing touches for my eye looks that have made my eye looks look a little bit more, I think, professional than they used to. And I owe a lot of that to this handy little brush right here. So those would be my top brushes for eye looks. I mean, I could do pretty much any eye look with just these 3 brushes right here. I know brushes are pricey, and I will admit I didn't buy these. Refer sent these to me. Thank you to Refer. I am so fortunate they sent me the brushes. But if I lost them, I would go out and buy these 3 brushes right away because they are absolute staples for me and totally worth the investment in my opinion. And that is it, you guys. Those are all of my favorites from the month of January. Let me know what you guys have been loving this last month. I know there have been a lot of new makeup releases. I hope you guys are doing well. Happy February. I hope you all have a fantastic month. I have some good things planned on my channel this month. I'm determined to get back on Instagram, or at least I'm going to try my darndest. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for stopping by, for joining me, for watching this video or any of my other videos. I really appreciate you guys. I hope you guys are well and healthy. Let me just encourage you one more time to subscribe if you haven't done that yet. But that's all for now. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Oh, I should probably, hopefully this band-aid can come off. The skin around my cuticles is so dry. Actually started bleeding this morning. Nothing grosser than a band-aid. My own band-aids gross me out. Imagine what happens when I see someone else's band-aid laying around somewhere. Brows, CYO in my brows. You guys, look at my brows. Can you see my brows today? See that wet look I'm talking about? I'm so digging this look for my brows. I wish I could find something else that would give me this look. Darn it.